What up? What up? It's your boy Conservative 34. Bear with me. Got some technical difficulties. What up? What up? It's your boy Conservative 34. Bear with me. So, all right, let's see if this works here. Boy, it's your boy Conservist 34, and I'm going to have a special live stream on Tuesday, August 2nd at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'm going to be sharing my experiences of an awesome run of shows that happened on 3 consecutive weekends of DMV this summer. The Deer Creek shows, the Alpine shows, and the SPAC shows. It was a phenomenal once-in-a-lifetime trip that I'm glad that I saw these shows, 6 total shows in 3 total weekends. And I met some awesome friends that I'm going to bring in to this roundtable discussion that went to some of these shows and can share their perspective along with what I thought of this amazing weekend. So first up, representing the state of Indiana, we have Stephanie, aka 2Steph41. She'll be representing Indiana for us and went to the Deer Creek shows, SPAC as well, and Alpine, which is really cool because she'll be able to talk to me about all 3 of these shows. And along with Steph, we're going to have Steven Rack. He represents Missouri, the Show Me State. He's going to talk to us about his experiences, especially his experience at SPAC, being a Midwestern fan, to be able to go to SPAC. We're going to ask him some questions about what he thought of this Northeastern venue. And then we have another Stephanie, SK Boyd Fire Dancer. Stephanie Boyd will be on. She was the awesome person that had that emotional reaction to bartender at SPAC, and she's from Tennessee. So we'll talk to her. What does she think of SPAC, and what does she think of Alpine as well? That's a little bit closer to home for her. So again, tune in Tuesday, August 2nd at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and join us for the discussion. And also leave in the comments if you think we should have some topics about these weekends, if you think I should ask these guests any questions, put them in the comments below. And don't forget to tune in at 8:30 Eastern on August 2nd, YouTube Concert Viz 34, and be a part of the live chat. And hey, we may even bring some of you guys on. If you guys did go to a couple of these, we'll bring you on after the roundtable. You guys can share your thoughts and opinion. I'll see you guys there. Peace. It's your boy Conservist 34. We back again. Shout out to everyone adjusting to real life outside of the tour. But don't worry, your kid's about to go back to school. Shout out for gas prices going down. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. This is going to be a special show. We're going to have a little bit of a roundtable of Dave Matthews Band fans that went to some of the same shows I went to. Before I introduce them, this is going to be a look at some of the bigger stops on the first leg of this tour. And these stops are really outside of the gorge, and maybe you can argue Fiddlers gets a certain vibe. Outside of those two West Coast venues, there is nothing like this first leg when you go to Deer Creek, Alpine, and SPAC. Hello, Michelle. Good to see you. And Michelle was with one of our guests on the lawn. I hope you're doing well. And John, a good friend, John is, shout out to John. He's training for the Chicago Marathon. So I know he's running. He ran this morning to Big Whiskey for his run, training for the marathon. So we want to talk about these venues. And the main theme is going to be, I went to these two Midwestern venues, Deer Creek and Alpine, for the first time. And these guests went to SPAC. And now, you know, Steven's been to a SPAC a couple of times, about 4 times. But the two Stephanies, the two Stephs, this was their first trip out east. And one of the things we want to share is our experiences. For me, being a veteran of SPAC in the Northeastern shows, share my perspective there, but also in the Midwest. And then we want to take a look at some of our folks from, Tennessee, Missouri, and Indiana that, they have a familiarity with the Midwestern venues, but they went to SPAC, and that's something that's out of their region. And that we just want to talk about this. And what's cool is we all went to these shows, because I know a lot of the things here, some people went to SPAC, right? They went to some of the East Coast shows, but they didn't make it out to Alpine, right? And some people went to Alpine in Deer Creek, right? And maybe you went to a Southern show, but you didn't make it out to SPAC. It's a tough ticket. So we have an awesome experience where we got to see some of the biggest weekends of the years, both in the Midwest and out east. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to bring on our, let's just make sure we get this right. We're going to bring on our guests, and I'm going to go around, introduce them. And as I introduce them, they're going to just tell you a little bit about how they got into going to live D&B shows. So first we have from Missouri, we have Steven. Steven, how you doing?
Good, Marcus. How are you? Thanks for having me, man. Really excited to be a part of this. Representing St. Louis Mo in the Midwest here today. So really excited for that. My DMV journey starts really in the 90s, where my brothers and I had their albums, but I never went to a live show. But one of my best friends in college is now at show 130, 140 something. I can't remember. And when Dave was playing Busch Stadium in St. Louis, I had the opportunity to get the company box and had about 20 of us in there. And then from there, my wife and I have been hooked on Live Dave ever since. Just hit 85 shows at Camden night 2, and then we'll finish with 90 shows at the end of the Gorge this year. So just got hooked with friends, and we've met some of our dearest friends through DMB. And at the Gorge, there's a group of about 24 of us who will be out there that we all from all over the United States. So it's just such an amazing family. So excited to be a part of this tonight.
Awesome. So your first show, was that the 2008 Busch Stadium?
It was the 2008 Busch show. That was my first live Dave show. Yep.
Wow. You just caught Leroy then?
Yeah, that was my first show, and then one of the last Leroy shows, and kind of spoiled me because I got a 2-step opener and Water in the Wine and a bunch of other amazing stuff that night. So really spoiled since then.
Yeah, number 27, I believe Crush. I've ran miles and miles to that Busch Stadium live tracks.
Yeah, I think too, I was going to say really quick, that's also why I love Thank You, I think too, because it finished that show and it was my first introduction to that Sly song. So, and hearing the band do it was amazing.
Yeah. And we'll talk about some of the thank yous that went on in this little 3-weekend, party. So next up, we have from Tennessee, the Volunteer State,
Go Vols.
Yeah, well, good luck this year. They
We say
always,
that every year.
yes, it's rough in the SEC. Actually, my friend he was at University of Tennessee in a jazz guitar program when Lane Kiffin was leaving in the middle of the night.
Boo.
So he saw the campus in an uproar. Anyway,
Yeah.
I digress. So
Yes.
Stephanie Boyd, tell us about how did you get into going to live D&B shows?
So my first live DMB show was 2015 at Virginia Beach. I fell in love with Dave Matthews Band in 2000. A nurse friend of mine just happened to introduce me to his album Crash Into Me. And the more I listened to it, I was like, this is music I've never heard before. Like I really like this. And that was about the time that grunge had come out and alternative had come out. But I really, really liked something about the band's sound. So I would listen to more of their albums and more of their music, and it never even occurred to me to go and try to find a concert. Not until about 2008, 2009 did I start going to concerts. I begged one of my best friends to go to a concert with me like the closest one was going to be for me Virginia, and it was around my birthday time. So she rode with me over there to my very first Dave Matthews Band concert, 2015, and I've been going every year since 2017 to Atlanta. The first time I've ever gone outside of my venues was this year. So it's always been Atlanta, Alpharetta, which is the home venue, and everything else has been home.
Gotcha. So back in 08, 09, your friend didn't want to go to Virginia
I
with
didn't
you?
have anybody that wanted to go to concerts with me. Like nobody. No boyfriend, no husband, nobody wanted to go to Dave Matthews Band concerts with me.
Yeah, and that's tough, and I can somewhat relate to that.
Mhm.
As my friend who got me into DMB, he got married. He has a child on the way, so he can't go to as many shows. So I've been the last couple of years going solo to shows. So I understand that
I wish I
there.
had known that part earlier, though. Like to go to shows solo is a good thing when you're a Dave Matthews fan.
Yeah, and but the reality of the world we live in
Hmm.
is you don't know that until you actually try it out.
Exactly.
Anytime you're in anywhere in this country or in the world, it can be dangerous.
Hmm.
But when you really start to get a network of friends, and when you really start to have people that you can text or drive with you or make sure you get back somewhere safe, that's what makes this community great. Is I have no issue going solo, and having people I know that I can drive with or make sure I make it back
Oh
safe. So
yeah, yeah. Find your people.
yeah, and we have the second Steph, and we have two Steph 41 in Indiana. So tell us about how did you get into going to live D&B shows?
I feel new compared to everyone else. I am a newbie at
Feels
this.
so fun though.
I know. So let's see. I mean, I started listening to him when he was really popular. I was probably 14, 15 years old in 2002, 2003. And I listened to him nonstop. I just never went to a show. I was too young. I was busy with sports and school. And then college, I started to get into generally some crappy music. Lost my way. And then in 2020, when COVID started, we basically just were at home for what seemed like forever. We bought the Sirius XM channel, and I was like, let's put it on. Let's put on the Dave channel. And when I say I've been listening to it nonstop for 2.5 years now, it's not an exaggeration. And I said, when we were stuck at home for 3 months, I said, when we get a chance, when this ends, or when we can go out in public again, we're going to go to every freaking Dave show we possibly can.
Nice.
So my first show ever. So his was in 2000. No. 98. My husband's was in 98. He saw it. They were at Champaign, Illinois. He barely paid attention, he said, which pisses me off. But my first show was at Northerly Island it was actually on our anniversary weekend. And the show was amazing because I guess the night before we got there was a storm. And so he had to cut it short. Well, then I benefited because he essentially played for like almost 3.5 hours the night after that, and I was hooked. It was bad. It was so bad.
Bug
So
gets you
this
good.
year, yeah. So this year we're going to, oh my, I think 16. Which is, it's bad.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Stephanie,
So-
don't feel bad. I'm right there with you, so don't feel bad.
Oh, I'd love to do that.
So Northerly Island night 1 last year, there was a storm, and the SiriusXM stream actually just kind of ended. And we found out, I had my post-show stream, watch it after every Dave Matthews Band show. And I was messaging people on Twitter who were at that show, and they said the equipment was swaying. So it was good that that wasn't your first show. There was people got stuck in the rain.
Oh
Because
my.
it is, by the way, guys, don't go to Northerly Island.
It's
Thank
awful.
you. The venue's terrible. Don't go there.
I've
Don't
heard
support
that.
Chicago.
I've heard that too. I was like,
Go to a Cubs game, go to the Taste of Chicago,
I would love to go see Chicago. Yes.
but do not go to Northern Ireland. That's why my trip was this year. Last year, I said, no, I'm not going because I want to go to Deer Creek and Alpine and versus that. So,
Yeah.
and then for those of you guys who don't know, if you guys are tuning in for the first time, I was into Dave Matthews Band in 2005-ish. The LimeWire era. I cannot confirm or deny how I got my music.
Nor
But
will
there were always mixed CDs that you made. Your friends made them, and then I started making them.
Mhm.
Again, not revealing the source of where I got the music from. And here in Hartford, where I live, there is a tailgate atmosphere to Dave Matthews Band shows, like your Vols football.
Yep.
Stephanie Boyd. We don't have, like, our UConn just went Division I about 20 years ago.
Mhm.
So what people do in the summer is, no matter who was playing, if it was a Dave Matthews, there was a show with Wu-Tang and Rage Against the Machine, the country concerts now, there'll be 200, 300 people who aren't even going to the show that'll tailgate.
Yeah.
Just in Hartford, because we don't have anything else. We lost the Whalers when I was 6, and we don't have any major sports. So in 05, I was like, I don't know if I want to go. I heard about the riots, but I was like, this studio stuff is really cool. Ants marching. I had a couple of songs from the mixed CDs, but I didn't go until 2012 because a lot of the people who went to the shows in the lawn were like, they had horrible taste in music. They were like the bros or the crazy, sloppy people. And listen, I like to have fun, but these were people that were obnoxious. So in 2012, I graduated 10 years ago from college, and my friend said, you're going, like, hey, there's a lawn deal, the 4-pack for whatever it was. And I go to that show, and since then I've been hooked. I regret not going to a lot of shows, but I don't know if I could have gone to shows because my parents, with the riots at the turn of the century,
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to go out there until I was at least, I think I was 17 when they first let me go to a Lincoln Park show. So I jump in 2012, 2013, 2014. I'm like, we got some great shows in Hartford and Mansfield. Stanley Jordan guested for the first time in 2012, my first show. And there was all this crazy stuff. We got a number 34 tease, my third show at the 34th Hartford show. And those moments led me to, I can't ever miss another Connecticut show. I'll try not to miss the Massachusetts shows and let me go across the country. So for those of you guys who have seen some of my videos, some of my reviews, I went to the Gorge in 2019 and 2021, and I had a wonderful time. And I said, hey, these shows are different than the East Coast. And then from there, I said, I got to get to Alpine. I got to get to Deer Creek. I have to, those are the two that I have to get to. So flash forward to 2022, and I heard some rumors about, hey, this is, all right, Alpine is always 4th of July weekend for the most part. And some people said, hey, book the Friday, Saturday. So I booked that. It's Saturday, Sunday. I should have known. And then I book a quick Sunday, there. And that started it. And I said, okay, I got Alpine booked. And then I said, well, if I'm gonna be out here, I'm getting married this year. Who knows what's gonna happen? I don't know if I'll be able to sneak away as much. So I said, let me just do Deer Creek. And then I said, wait, there's a week in between these. Flights are expensive. I'm just gonna rent a car for 10 days and then go Deer Creek, Chicago, Milwaukee, Green Bay, and then go down to Alpine. So what started out as just, hey, let me do Alpine. I'll do Deer Creek next year. Went to a Deer Creek Alpine SPAC triple header. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So first, we want to talk about Deer Creek. So we're going to be talking to Two-Step, Steph, and we're going to be talking to Steven. I want them to give me, as Midwestern folk, I want you guys to tell me, and we'll start off with Steven. What is Deer Creek to you as someone who's in the area?
Yeah, I mean, Deer Creek to me is kind of it's up there with the big three. It's up there with Gorge, Alpine, and SPAC, in my opinion. Not from Indy, but it's a historical venue for the Dead and a bunch of other places. The set lists are always amazing there. The acoustics are great. It's just, and for me in St. Louis, it's a quick 4-hour drive. So it's kind of like a no-brainer. Why would I skip Deer Creek when it's so easy to drive to? And had a lot of friends who come down from Chicago for those shows. And I think the other thing I like about it now is that area is so much more built up. While I'm not a camper, there's hotels there that are now within walking distance. So we can tailgate in the hotel parking lot and not worry about driving all the way over to the show. And then coming back, we just walk there and back. So it works out really well just tailgating in the hotel parking lot and then walking over around 5:30 to go to the show and hang out. So just had some amazing set lists at Deer Creek, and it's the tailgate scene's really good. The camping vibe that's all around there is really unique too. And I know for indie people from the old days that there was nothing there, so they just go spend a weekend there and party their what's off and camp, and then go see Dave shows and forget about life for 2 days, and then go back to normal on Sunday. So just a really great, unique place. Love Deer Creek.
Right, and then let's go to Steph. What's Deer Creek? You're in Indiana. It obviously it's your home venue. What is this venue to you?
I mean, I was born and raised in Indiana, and so I've gone to a lot of shows there in general, and it's just, it feels small, but I think it seats as many as SPAC, and the crowd especially with Dave. So I went last year for 2 days. We camped, we met a lot of good people, and then I was very surprised at how loud they were. I mean, it's a very knowledgeable crowd when it comes to Dave, especially this year. Friday night was one of the loudest crowds I've ever been in. And we're including, frankly, SPAC and Alpine this year. The lawn was insane. I mean, people were jumping, dancing. It was crazy. I think Saturday was a little bit more casual of a crowd, but Friday was nuts. And I'm a big camper. I love camping. And so like he's touched on already, there's the main venue camping, which honestly was a pretty good time, but there's a lot of other ones that you can walk to, or you can walk to the venue from, and it sounds like a very good time there. So to me, it feels like home. Generally speaking, when we go, my actual in-person friends, I consider you guys my friends, but in-person friends will go to that venue. My family goes there. And so just frankly, it kind of feels like home to me, and it's a great, great place.
Yeah, so it is Deer Creek's 24,790. SPAC is about 25,000. But to me, going there for the first time, the biggest thing I was impressed with, I do not like lawns. I can't stand lawns, but it's because I'm from the Northeast. The Mansfield lawn it used to be bigger, but they actually cut it in half to make seating. They built seats on the lawn in Mansfield, great woods. And so the Deer Creek lawn is to me the best lawn I've ever been to, as far as its proximity to the stage. If you get there early, I saw Steph in line. right? You guys were lined
Yeah.
up and ready.
I like ran up to you and poked you.
Yeah, but you guys were ready to go to get a nice spot. I don't know if Shane is on. Shane Whitford was with right next to you, and he was trying to get that poster, and he got a good lawn spot. But that lawn, that is the one lawn I will say, if next year if I can't get a night one seat, I will just get on the lawn and get there early. The sound overall is good.
Yeah.
The sound on the lawn, I don't know. It seems like it's a full experience on the lawn. And in the East Coast, a lot of the venues, their sound systems have kind of like died out. Kind of like, someone has an old car, the power windows don't work, the mufflers hanging on the floor. The Hartford lawn used to have these great speakers and screens, but they've kind of like deteriorated. But the SPAC, I mean, not the SPAC, the Deer Creek lawn had amazing sound. And I said, I almost want to just be on the lawn instead of I had uppers in the back corner. I said, I almost just want to be on the lawn compared to that. So that's what impressed me about Deer Creek. The other thing I'll say is this: I am a geography and time zone nerd. So the fact that I was so close to the central time zone and to have the sun go down at 9:30,
Yeah.
and you're halfway through a show, and I'm like, wait, the sun's still up. And it was really cool to have that experience. Now I want to ask very quickly, Steven and Steph, to Steph 41. So we'll start off with Steven. What was it like going here and you don't have Tim Reynolds?
So we were all kind of like, oh, bummed. But then when it came to that weekend, it's actually sadly one of the highlights of my weekend that there was no Tim. It was old school Dave. And I thought the sound mix of the band was actually more unique. You could hear more parts of the band than just the electric guitar being blared over and over again. So while I love Tim, it was actually just a unique experience. And I think that was the first time since 2008 that Tim had not played with the band. So it was just unique in that sense of it to not have Tim. So the sound mix was definitely different, but I also really, really enjoyed it. It was kind of like old school Dave.
Absolutely. And I've grown to appreciate Tim. I went to a TR3 show this year and they've turned Tim down. And that's what's crazy. I'm going into the show like, hey, I went to Hartford last week. Tim was amazing. Like, I think I'm okay with him playing. I call him Tim CDC. He was like perfectly mixed. And then I get to Deer Creek and everyone's like, hey, concert Marcus, concert with Marcus. I know you're pumped about Tim. And I'm like, I do feel bad. I did not want him to be like affected by the 19.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is like the God is like, hey, because you've accepted Tim, now I'm gonna take him away and you get to hear the old school. And I loved the sound of just no Tim for the whole show. And because I say less is Leroy Moore. You can take the trumpet out of a couple of things. I love you, Rashawn. You could take some other stuff out. And I want to hear Dave's guitar. I want to hear Stefan. I want to hear Stefan's bass.
Yeah.
It gets buried sometimes. So I loved the fact that there was that balance of sound. And I loved Joe Lawler coming in, and he brought that blues rock. Like I was joking. I'm like, he's Stevie Ray Vaughan's nephew right now. Like he's not full Stevie Ray Vaughan, but he's like, he had this amazing tone. I hate cornbread as far as the slide in it, right? But having that blues rock sound versus the slide stuff, I was like, hey, I enjoy this. So that was my take. Now, to Step 41, what was it like to not have Tim for you?
I'm ashamed to say I didn't miss him. That's terrible. That's terrible. No, so just the whole concept of Joe being and playing, it just, like the crowd got so loud when he was playing, and I frankly didn't know much about him prior to him coming on. And then I started to research, and he's a phenomenal guitar player. I didn't realize how good he is. And so he filled in a couple songs. They were fantastic. And then the Preservation Hall band, I mean, what they did with Ants, I know people hear Ants every freaking show, but like I got chills when they filled in. And if Tim would have been there, they probably wouldn't have played as long, and it wouldn't have had as much of an impact. So again, I liked him. We bought his CD, or we bought his vinyls. He's fantastic, but it was pretty awesome to hear the band very similar to what it would have been 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And actually, Steve Lillywhite told Tim for Crash and for Under the Table and Dreaming, and also most of Before These Crashes, he said no distorted guitar. If you notice on those albums, he's playing another acoustic or he's playing a clean guitar. And so I would love for Tim to play acoustic on some songs, but I do enjoy him there. So we'll talk about that's what we'll wrap up. That's going to be for Deer Creek for now. Maybe we'll come back to the set list at the end of the year, end of the tour. But I do want to get on to Alpine, and I want to start off with Stephanie Boyd. And I want to talk about, so tell us about your experience at Alpine.
Well, Alpine was the first venue I have been to outside of Atlanta, Alpharetta. I decided on going to this venue with one of the DMB sisters that I have befriended over the past 8 months, Anna Duncan, Orion Matsui, I think is her handle. So she had invited, she said, if Alpine is this year, she said, I want you to come up and stay with me and we'll go to Alpine. I was like, definitely. So it was going to be a girls thing. So I had never met this person in my entire life, go to this venue that I've never been to in my entire life by myself, and had the absolute best time of my life. It was, of course, the lawn. We were lawn seats, but it's straight down, so there is a bit of a hike down and up. But the energy and the sound and everything is just right there on the hill as you're sitting, and the experience is all around you, and not just the lawn. There's the I guess a pavilion or something in the back. So if you get too hot or get too tired, you can go up there and get something to eat, get something to drink, go to the indoor bathrooms. It was just this whole new experience. And the tailgating was really, really good. Like we tailgated at least, which I've never really done that before until Alpine, by the way. We did some tailgating beforehand and met other people that I had never met before. So the tailgating there is great. The venue it's a challenge. It's not the gorge. I haven't been to the gorge yet, but I heard it's pretty steep. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every bit of it. Everything.
Yeah, it definitely was steep. I went to a show here. I went to a fish show in Hartford, and the Xfinity Theater or the Meadows is the second largest lawn on the tour for DMB. It has 22,000. Now Alpine is the largest as far as these traditional. Oh, this is not Alpine. I'm just gonna chill up there. So yeah, that definitely interesting. And then let's get to Two Step 41. What is your history with Alpine, and or how did you like Alpine? Actually, no, this was your first time, right?
It was.
Yeah. So tell us about.
I had FOMO. I bought all the tickets possible.
All the tickets.
If you can't find a ticket to a show, it's because Two Step 41.
Yeah, for sure.
And, all right, yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah. So last year, I honestly didn't even know they went, and so then I started to, went way down the rabbit hole, and everyone was like, "Go! You have to go to Alpine if they come." And so I said, "Well, I'm for sure buying tickets." So I did the warehouse for them, and I got lawn the first night, and then it was my first pit experience, which is fantastic. But anyway, the lawn was absolutely beautiful. I would say the one thing is they had this weird, I don't know if it was supposed to rain, but there was a sound stage that everyone said that prior to this past year, it was always open. And I would say there was only the biggest downside to Alpine was in the lawn, they had that middle center area that was completely blocked. So you
Yeah.
had to go on both sides. And we had great seats, but it basically obstructed, I would probably say 10% of the lawn. So I'm not sure what
And
happened with that, but
yeah,
the sound was beautiful. The venue itself, being a Midwestern person myself, I didn't mind the cow smell. It was beautiful. It was in a valley.
normal.
No, it was fantastic. And then the pit, oh my, I have trouble being on the lawn now sometimes because well, I guess it was is that a big pit?
It's
It is the
huge.
Someone else
largest.
even
It's massive.
Yeah, I didn't know that because it felt like it felt big, but being that close to the stage, I will never forget that venue because you're like, oh, the band is right there. I see Carter's face. Dave's literally right there. And so the sound, I think people complained a little bit in the pit, but I thought it was phenomenal. You could actually hear the strums of the guitar.
Oh,
You could hear Carter playing. It was insane. I will always go to that venue if it's available. It was fantastic.
agree.
That pit is so you have some like they're gonna be in Tahoe in Nevada. That's just a GA area. Chicago, I don't count that either. It's just like it's a huge. But like as far as your traditional amphitheater, that is the largest pit because it's the whole 100 level essentially, and then everyone pours in, and it's a the big one of the biggest weekends of the year. So definitely the biggest pit. And let's talk to Steven because this is his favorite venue. That he is the vet of this venue. Talk about Alpine, what it means to you.
So I think Alpine for me goes back to my first time was the same gentleman I talked about that had been to 130 plus shows. He's like, you got to go to Alpine with us. So we went, I think it was 2010 or 9, somewhere around there was our first Alpine. And I'll admit wholeheartedly, I'm a seat snob. Like most of the time I'm in a box at all venues. Like, so we can discuss that. I don't sit in the lawn. But so Alpine went there my first time and just basically said, I'll never miss this venue again in my life. The volume that old shed produces compared to everywhere else is off the chain, in my opinion. While you may have better acoustics at SPAC or somewhere else, the pure volume of the crowd and what echoes off that wood roof and the way it's shaped is just absolutely unbelievable. And had some of my most favorite moments at Alpine. And I remember 2012 night 2, they played for 3 hours and 5 minutes of pure music. And we got like a 24-minute 2-step that night to end the night. And Rashawn and Jeff came out to thank you one night with water guns. Like, it's just always a unique place. And what I love too is everybody has their own favorite, whether it's SPAC or the Gorge or Alpine or Deer Creek. Dave even says it every show, and he said it again this Alpine weekend. He always says, I love this place. And it's a unique place now that it's pretty much on an every other year basis. And you never know, Alpine's so, you don't know if it's going to come back again or not. It's just such an old school venue in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin. In Live Nation, while they have a contract, they haven't had shows there forever. But the other thing I'll say, I'll give this secret up because you can't do it anymore. But after my first Alpine experience, they only had like 5-7 shows a year. And I'm like, well, season tickets can't cost that much to this venue. And so I ended up getting locked into dead center season tickets right behind the VIP boxes.
Nice.
We've had those tickets for 10 years now and kept them all through COVID and everything. And now you can't buy season tickets at Live Nation venues anymore because you're grandfathered into seats and all they sell is VIP boxes anymore. So we have those seats, and my best friend who I talked about has the 2 seats next to me, and we have fish buddies who take our tickets for fish when they're there and those kind of things. It's just that place is just super special to me, and it's just my favorite place in the world, like for a Dave show.
That's awesome. And yeah, so this year, I mean, there's Rage Against the Machine, Fish for
Yep.
3 nights, DMB. Did Buffett rescheduled, right? His show
Buffett
started.
rescheduled. So, in case anybody's wondering, Buffett wanted to play, Live Nation wanted him to play, but the Walworth County Sheriff said no go. And Buffett wanted to play on Sunday, and they said no go. So that's why it's rescheduled to August, which is kind of a bummer because I wasn't going to that date. I sold them, but the guy who bought them off me can't go to the new date. But I'll be in West Palm because of the reschedule because of that with Dave and COVID. So
Yeah. And so that's that's awesome that you got grandfathered in because, like you said, it's a small investment, 5
Yep.
shows versus a lot of the Live Nation venues, like here in Connecticut, you're gonna get some not so popular, like you literally cannot give away a $150 seat, right?
Yep.
So it's just you're gonna eat a couple $100 for certain seats or sell them at a loss. Now, what I'll say about Alpine is the sight lines, as someone who's 5'7", the sight lines are amazing because it's so steep. I will go up that hill, down that hill, and down the pavilion, and even struggle through the 4 million seats in each section. That because there's not a lot of aisles, but
Yeah.
that makes it so there's more seats. So
Yep.
once I got to my seat, both nights really, um, I maybe went to the bathroom once the entire 2 nights during the sets because it was just I was able to see over everything. And I think that that's one of the things that's not talked about with Live Nation venues. This is why I like arena shows better in the sense of the view. The fall and winter tours, you can actually see over the person in front of you. But sometimes in DMB, you could be in the orchid, like the 100 level, the closest seats, but you can't see over someone who's 6'2", 6'3". You
Right.
could be at the back of a venue,
Yeah.
like for Deer Creek. If you guys watch my videos from Deer Creek, I had to like really, I'm trying to, just share this content with everyone of what was going on, and I can forget my camera. I can hardly see myself. So I love how Alpine has that ability to have that steep pavilion and every 200 level seat outside of some that are by the poles, but
Mhm.
most of the 200 level, the corners and the center, you can see the stage. And then the other thing is, as someone who's from the Northeast, the tailgate scenes at Deer Creek in Alpine were so much more welcoming. It doesn't mean, listen, I know people at SPAC. Some of you guys met people that I know, whether it's Two Step 41, Dan, and you also know Victoria, right? And then Stephanie Boyd, she met Michelle. She met Ruthie. We love Ruth. She's amazing.
Ruthie,
Um,
Jessica.
Jessica, Erica, all my Connecticut pals and
Mhm.
Massachusetts pals. Now, I know them personally. Actually, I just met them, but like, I've connected. I went to a Avid Brothers show with Ruth, so I've met her. I broke bread. We talked about life, right? So I know these people. But if you go to SPAC, we'll get to that in a moment. Sometimes it can be intimidating. Where at Deer Creek and Alpine, I got offered food and a drink and a bottled water. And hey, you can bring a gallon of water next time. They're not checking like tips, things like that. So I think for me, being the person from the Northeast, the hospitality in the Midwest was just it made me, this world is there's so much going on. It gave hope for me in humanity. And there's a lot of negative connotations, even just to go off the path for a second. Chicago, I went to Chicago. I was in the South Side. I was in the center of Chicago. I was in the North End. I was in the suburbs. And like Chicago, I saw city people that people label as this and violent and all this stuff. And I know there is stuff that goes on, but everyone was so nice in the city. And then when I went to Deer Creek and Alpine, you think, oh, flyover country, people hate, they're this and that. Everyone from the store attendant, the bartender, everyone at the tailgate was so kind. And that trip for me, going to these 2 venues, it just, again, you have to meet people. There are some crazy people, Some people like pineapple in their pizza. Like, really? Like, what?
I love it.
Why?
You
Why?
hate-
I can't. All right, you're getting deleted from this.
Great.
So,
barf, barf.
but yeah, there's you hear this stuff, the news and the media, and listen, there's crazy people out there. But when you actually go to these, I went to the stadium tours, Lambeau, the Brewers. I went to a Cubs game, talked to people there. When you actually break bread with people, you realize that the majority of us want to help one another. The majority of us care. Now, in the Northeast, it's more aggressive and mean, but the Midwest, from what actually being there, it just warmed my heart. And I was so sad to leave. Fatima recommended, I went to, I believe it was Cops. It's like the milkshake and burger place in Custard. I think it's Cops Custard in outside of Milwaukee. I went to Summerfest and I got to see Disturbed and TC Carson, who's from Living Single, the show I grew up on. And I got to see the Revivalists all in the same show. So I love the Midwest. Green Bay, Wisconsin is the nicest town ever. These glasses were purchased there because my glasses broke. If you guys saw me at Deer Creek, I had tape on my glasses. And Green Bay, I called them a week before the trip. I'm like, listen, Connecticut has no appointments for like 3 weeks. And they're like, oh, yeah, we'll get you in, 10:30. Yeah. Like, I can't do the Wisconsin answer, but yeah, we'll get you in 10:30 a.m. Within 3 hours, they had my glasses done. From the eye exam ending to that 3 hours, it was done. It was
Must have been a Lens Crafters.
I was going to say, is that a 30-minute
is this sponsored by Lens Crafters?
Yes. This stream is sponsored. So anyway, that's my take for the Midwest. And,
we have to remember one thing, Marcus. Sorry to interrupt you, but the other thing about Alpine that's amazing is New Glarus beer. So we all have to know, you got to enjoy Spotted Cow, Moon Man, Totally Naked. It's amazing. Yeah.
So that's the one thing I missed. I had the Lincoln was it the Summer Shandy? I can't pronounce it. We have it here. Lincoln. It starts with an L.
Lincolnbach.
Leinenkugels.
Yeah, Leinenkugels. So I had some of those. I do regret not getting to the Spotted Cow. Having that there. And before we get to SPAC, shout out to Jenny DMB. Shout out to Trish. If you guys have not heard the podcast that Jane likes, just like we're doing right here, there's a diverse set of DMB fans that have a great podcast. That it's not just all your set list people. Like me and Steven do not like Louisiana Bayou. We're not going to shake. We're not shaking like a monkey. Okay, we're not doing it. But, right, like those are songs that we like. I get offended when and people text me. They know when Bayou was played at Deer Creek. All these messages on Instagram. Bayou. Anyway, but you have people that like that are set list crazy. Sean and Matt, and then you have Trish and Jenny, and by the way, check out their podcast, the Corner of Gray Street podcast. I hopefully we can have them on here during this break. But they are doing something that really there's awesome, Corner of Gray Street. There's some other stuff, but the fact that they have a mix of D&B veterans that have different perspectives is a great thing. So I just wanted to plug them in there.
Marcus, can we live stream Trish next time at Alpine, because she said she's going to come to Alpine, and we will live stream her going up and down the hill, because it'll be amazing.
Well, hey, that's the one knock. Hey, the two knocks I'll give to Deer Creek and Alpine, the traffic out of those places.
Horrible.
There's two ways out, or really, and that's it. And for Alpine, I don't know how I found Stephanie Boyd. I did not find Two Step 41.
I was
Stephanie
lost
Boyd
amongst the buses.
She was with one of my New England friends, Jessica, who made the trip, and she was taking care of Jessica, which you guys are all adorable. And so I literally, it took me an hour to find where they were because the reception was horrible. So we're gonna have to pro shoot a video of Trish DMB, and then we're gonna have to upload it later because the live stream will not work.
I think that's the other unique thing about Deer Creek and Alpine. While the traffic is terrible, you get to tailgate after the show while you wait for the traffic to die down.
Exactly.
So
See?
just
That is
enjoy
true.
it. You just get to have an after show tailgate. So
Yeah, we didn't leave. The security had to make us leave Alpine because like everybody
Mhm.
was gone.
That's
We were
amazing.
just still sitting there hanging out.
Yep.
Yeah. And I would have done that if I didn't have my post-show stream. I would have been chilling. I had to run out of there.
Where's
I
the
was at the
signal?
lawn for every encore. I was at the lawn for Alpine, and then I'm a runner, and I sprinted to my car and got out of there both nights at the lawn gate. So let's go now. I want to go around and ask you guys because I'm the East Coast guy, right? I'm 2 hours from New York. I'm 2 hours from about 5 or 6 venues
Yes.
between Hartford, Mansfield, SPAC, even New York. If there's no traffic, I'm 2 hours from New York City. I'm about 2 hours from Jones Beach. So we have a lot of venues here that I consider either my home or my home away from home. And I know the Midwest isn't like that, but SPAC is that venue that everyone says you have to go to.
Yeah.
It's a venue that if you're in the Midwest, you don't necessarily have that ease of access to. You have to really get those tickets early, or you have to get a lawn ticket and camp out. So I want to know, we'll start off with Steven and we'll go around. Why did you guys decide to go to SPAC in 2022?
For me, I mean, SPAC started just because it's part of the big three. You gotta it's on the list now. And 2022 worked out because Deer Creek is an easy drive back from St. Louis to Indy and back. And then we decided, hey, let's go to Alpine, and then we'll fly up northeast, take the whole week off work. And we were up in Vermont, and then to Lake George, and then we came down to Saratoga. So for the weekend, and upstate New York is just beautiful. SPAC is. Our first time there was 2013. It's very unique. The sound is incredible. While I don't think it's as loud as Alpine, the acoustics are amazing. It's just one of those places. I think for me too, the town just makes it. Saratoga Springs, the town, is such a unique, awesome place that you can just hang out during the day before the show, have an amazing brunch, go visit a couple bars, and go to Druthers, get a great beer, or go to Pint Size and get a unique craft beer. And it's just beautiful in upstate New York, and one of those places you don't really want to miss, So we won't talk about set list, but everything was good until Shake Me closed the encore.
He trolled us.
He
For
did.
sure.
Yeah, it is. And I only can laugh at that because last year they had an incredible show and they do Shake Me. And this year they had an incredible run. Before that, you had an everyday tour debut, which got the crowd going. And then you have, it's like, oh, this set, there's really not a song you can skip in SPAC night one. And then they close with Shake Me.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah. So that was definitely, I just laughed because it's just, it felt like a troll. I would not have been happy if it didn't happen last year. I wouldn't have been as happy, but I would still enjoyed it. And let's go to Steph Boyd. So one of the things about SPAC is the seats. If you don't have seats, the lawn. I refuse to be on the lawn, and I actually will not drive up. If I get denied tickets to SPACs inside, and I don't have anyone that can get me them, I just don't show up. Because to me, to drive 2.5 hours, I just want to see Dave, even if he's 50 miles away. I just want to see his face, squinting with my eyes, like, is it right there? So it was, to me, I personally I struggle with going to a lawn show. Although this year, some of my friends got there early and they had a really good spot. So they got there early, they lined up and they got it. But tell us, Stephanie, about what it was like to be in that lawn.
Oh God. Well, once you get to the venue, like you're going, it's almost like a trail a little bit. You cross a little stream, creek there, and then you're walking to the venue, and then it just kind of opens up into this world of like is there something over there? Is there something over here? And then you see the actual amphitheater. You're like, oh wow, like down there is where they're gonna play music, and then the lawn just kind of opens up, and then it kind of drops a little bit. But there's trees everywhere, so you just feel like you're enveloped in this forest of music that's gonna happen, and it just made me feel real cozy. So I didn't mind the lawn. I'm kind of a lawn geek anyway, so that I can have enough room to dance and move around. So the lawn didn't bother me. I would have liked to have gotten a little closer to see the actual band, but it I was with enough people that I enjoyed my company a lot that I really, really took in the whole ambiance of SPAC.
Yeah, and that's the thing about if you have a group of great people, it can definitely help. And I didn't have as much time as I hoped for, but it was nice to be able to see you guys on the lawn. I saw two Steph 41. Steven, I couldn't get to you. I know.
It's all good, man.
And that's the other thing is one of the downsides about SPAC. It is so hard navigating that venue because if you've never been, the lawn seats on Saturday, people have their lawn chairs in the walkways.
Yes.
Of the grass. So the walkways up to the balcony, those have to be cleared. But to get to that walkway to the balcony, you have to squeeze through people. So it takes a while to navigate that. And let's talk, Steph Boyd, we're going to stick with you. What was it like? I remember that video, and we're going to actually, let's see if we can pull this up here. Because I'm going to play a video of myself. I'm going to play a video of myself first.
I know.
So I'm just gonna be, I gotta give myself. So it reminded me of this video right here. Let me see if I can find it. I have been chasing what you are. Yeah, you guys can see. So I have been chasing what you are I had been chasing it for like 31 shows before MSG last year. And so this is me. Let's see if we can get this audio in.
Such a great.
Oh, and the piano's in it too. You can hear Buddy. Let's go. Woo. In around, folks.
So yeah, that was I couldn't even speak. I could not even talk. I was so emotional. It's probably like I've seen a lot of great songs, okay? But this was a song that I've literally ran up steep hills training for road races, steep hills in the cold morning, and ran up to What You Are. And it was a big moment. And then we flash to, let's get to this. We're going to get to see Steph's reaction here. Let's take a look.
This video is Stephanie because if it's bartender.
And that's my favorite part of this. Like, hey, so I see you at the show for Alpine. I think it was Alpine Night 2. Yes. You had your bartender shirt on.
I did.
Why is that song so special to you?
It's special to me because Dave doesn't really talk about his spirituality or his a religion or any of that. But I know that he believes in a kinder being, and he believes that we are connected spiritually. And there was an interview, I don't know if it's, and I'm paraphrasing, but I'm thinking there was an interview where, somebody asked him, you talk about God in a lot of your music and you're not, you don't believe it or you're agnostic. And he said, well, maybe God's trying to talk to me. So when I first heard this song, I was like, he's not really talking about a bartender, because if you listen to most Dave songs, he's got a message. I know people like to hear his music, but he also has messages in his songs, and a lot of people don't listen to those. But the lyrics to me it was like, we're all in this together. We're all really trying. We're all doing our best. We all just want to be kind and loving to one another. We all get it wrong a lot, and we can always go back and ask for the forgiveness, which is Jesus dying on the cross and the blood and the wine and all that mixed together just made me feel like it's okay to like this band because he really does have this connection to a spirit that I think, and it made me feel okay to love this band and not just be, oh, you got to be a Christian, you got to do this, you got to do that. It's a, I don't know, it's a soul opening or soul, just it's okay to like the music. It's okay to like, a band. It's okay to like give your love to the people that love this band. So when I first heard the song, I just kept listening to it over and over and over again. I was like, I really like this song. This song really speaks to me. And then, yeah, this is probably 20 years ago. So when I started going to Dave Matthews concerts in 2015, I always hoped that I would hear that song. Never thinking, well, maybe I'll hear it one day. Years go on, I've never, not even heard it once, ever live, not even kind of live. So when people started talking about it, like they were like, you'll hear it at SPAC. And I was like, yeah, maybe I will, maybe I won't. Because I thought I was going to hear it at Alpine, didn't get to hear it at Alpine. So at second night at SPAC, I was thinking, well, I didn't hear it the first time. Maybe he'll play it somewhere around the middle or the end or something in SPAC. Was not expecting him to open with it. Not at all.
Yeah, it was a huge moment. And, that's why, as much as I hope for these songs and I'm like, why didn't they play this and that? When you finally get that song, or when you finally get that moment, or when you finally get something special, a guest comes out, Joe Lawler, someone who you're not even expecting to impress your heart or speak to your heart. That's what this thing's all about, right?
Yeah.
And I get so emotional thinking about that, and especially with the pandemic last year.
Yes.
And there are so many people in our community, and maybe some of you guys, there's so much going on in our lives. There's people, so many people that seem to be sick or ill or are losing their job or just are struggling to make ends meet, and we can't save everyone. And some of us are, I'm like, whoa, what is, I'm trying to balance everything. I'm trying to buy a house at some point here in the next year, and I'm like, bartender, please. But it's like, how do how do I afford a house? They said work hard. They said save your money, do this. And I did all that stuff. I paid off my college loan, and it's like I can't afford a house in my hometown where my parents still live. And everyone, whatever.
Yeah.
But even like that, realization, I've been working, and I just realized, listen, I can't. It's not going to happen right now. So there's so much going on. But when you go to these shows, when you get these moments, and when you even get that inspiration, like a bartender or like you never know, and it's like, hey, well, yeah, this is happening. Yes, you've lost somebody that you love dearly, but here's how you go and don't burn the day away. Here's how you move on, go in this way and find your own way out, and you lose love and you gain love again, and you find people that it matters. So it just was awesome to see that moment. And it reminded us all of why we see this band. And we're going to go to Two Step 41. So what was it like going to your first SPAC ever?
It almost pisses me off how much I loved it. It's overrated. People are overhyping it. So it was one of those things, again, fear of missing out. We did not even buy it through the warehouse. One night we're sitting there and we're watching Dave videos, of course. And we're like, man, he plays a really good show at SPAC every year. Why don't we just go? It's another weekend. So
just get the ticket.
Yeah, just get the ticket. So it was, unfortunately, I had to go through Ticketmaster, which that's a whole nother discussion. But we bought the tickets through Ticketmaster. And the first night, I don't remember if anyone remembered my story. So I bought 2 tickets. I think it was in section 16. And when I bought them, I clicked on, I think it was seat 8, and it just gave me 2 tickets. So we get to the venue, and they're split by the sound stage. And I was like,
Oh,
What's happening right here? I was like, seat 7, seat 8. So we go to ticketing or customer service, and I have to say they were the nicest people of all time. Like, again, I'm from the Midwest. You don't know how people are going to be in New York.
Right.
I'm ignorant and I just kind of associate people with the city. It was not like that at all. They were the most kind people of all time.
Oh,
They were the most helpful people of all time. So we ended up just kind of sitting together, and luckily we had a seat next to us. So we sat there. But the people in line were the most kind. Deer Creek, I don't know if you guys got into line for a poster, but for whatever reason, people were insane there. People were insane at Alpine to get the posters. Everyone at SPAC was so chill. We just kind of lined up. We got the poster very calmly. And it was like in the middle of a forest. It was just almost calming.
mm-hmm.
I like nature. I like camping. And it was
Me
just
too.
honestly one of the most beautiful venues I've ever been to.
Great.
And then night 2, we were on the floor. I'm going to have to disagree with you. I think SPAC was the loudest crowd. I could not even hear myself singing. Like the screaming that was going on, I could not even hear the band. And so the crowd there was absolutely amazing. In Saratoga, we only got bagels the next day and coffee to drive our 12 and a half hours back.
Ooh,
ooh,
But we're going to make a weekend out of it, or a week out of it, because
Yeah.
it
definitely.
was absolutely beautiful all the way around. And the people there, again, were the kindest. I wish I could have met more people, but we camped. And we got there about an hour before the show started, so we couldn't tailgate and all that. But next time we're going to spend more time around the venue and meeting you wonderful people.
Yes.
Yeah, and just to give you guys perspective, I live just in the Hartford area, and I'm closer to New York City than people in Saratoga Springs. That's the unique setup of New York. The actual
Yeah.
state of New York
Yeah.
is Connecticut is part of the tri-state metropolitan New York area. So I drive 45 minutes south and I'm in the New York City market, and I'm halfway between Boston and New York. So long story short, I'm more New York influence here in Hartford than the people up in Saratoga, which are influenced by, you have the Berkshires,
yeah.
just east of them, you have the Catskills. So it's a whole different vibe out there compared to like you take the drive down 87 to New York City. And I think for me, my favorite thing about SPAC compared to Alpine and Deer Creek, there are so many ways out of SPAC. And yes, it's pitch black, and you got to watch out for people biking, and you got to watch out. It's hard to find your car. You need to put a pin down to find your car. But I love how SPAC has so many ways to get in, and you can have a little adventure to go visit your friends in the state park. You can go visit the premier lot, right? You have the Hall of Springs parking and its own little fun area there. And there's so many different ways, so many different places to hang out. And that's what makes SPAC. I love, like, if you can't tell, I love getting out of venues easy. So I love it. I just love it. And so if that means, what is that? Oh, something just fell from my ceiling. Anyway, I will be out of here in December, so it doesn't matter. But I love the idea that SPAC has so many ways to get into that venue. And that's what makes it cool. And I'll agree, the staff is just amazing at the venue. And the seating at SPAC, there is, to me, it's like Fenway Park or Wrigley Field. You're on top of the venue. I know you were in the balcony, Stephen. What did you think about that?
That was my first time in the balcony. I always wanted to sit up there. So I do think volume of the crowd and what you hear depends on where you sit at every venue. But the balcony was amazing. Like that picture I sent you guys during thank you, where I'm basically leaning halfway over the balcony cheering thank you on. It was just, the balcony is such a different, unique view that you don't get really at any other venues. except maybe like down at Tampa at that new Daly's Place venue. I think that's where it's at. But that view was, and we were all the way to the side on the balconies each night, and just a really cool experience up there that's totally different than anywhere else you'll go.
Absolutely. Outside of the Mann Center for Performing Arts in Philly, which Dave and Tim did in 17, there's really not another amphitheater that gets frequent traffic that has that balcony that's so close, where you're on top of the lower level. And to me, the sound, I don't know if you kind of remember, Stephen, from your other trips, the sound this year wasn't as good as previous years. I feel like it got lost. I was in the lower level night one towards the back, and I was in the balcony night two. And I've sat in the balcony before. The sound seemed a little bit off for SPAC compared to usually it's much more dialed in.
Yeah.
But I still think it was great. And obviously we got that encore where it's
made up for the night before.
And even the set list, it said, and I love how Dave does this. He has the solo spot. It just says solo. So even if you had the set list, you had no idea pay for what you get was happening. And I'm recording this, and shout out to Copperpot. He actually used some of my footage and other people's footage. If you listen to this recording, and I'll just play it, I try to be professional, because if you see some of my old videos, I'm a fan. I'm singing and dancing while recording it. But this pay for what you get, you'll hear this in a second. You'll hear my voice go, whoa. So hold on, let's see if we can.
Thank you very much. We love coming here, and thank you so much.
So yeah, I'm like, whoa. Like I know something big is happening, but I'm like, wait, pay for what you get. So that is the moment. Those type of moments are always great. And even Dreaming Tree at Alpine was just it's only the second time in 42 shows I've been to, 42 shows, and I've only gotten it twice. And that's even, listen, some people have gone to more shows than me and never got it. So I think with these venues, I honestly went for the set list. And I think, Steven, you can attest to this. The set list, just looking strictly on paper, some of the Alpine set lists from like 2000, like from the turn of the century to about 2015, everything past, was it 15 or 16, is not on par with that. But to me, listen, yeah, we got the Stone and Dreaming Tree and all, like, but and obviously that debut, but like the set lists are not what they used to be, because listen, it is what it is. But I ended up saying, like, forget the set list. I just had a great time. And even just another thing about Alpine, I have never seen kids be treated so well. There were kids both nights I saw, and fans were waving to them. You know, even people that had been drinking, they were trying to be respectful. I have never seen kids be treated so well at a venue than Alpine. So
I think it's Midwestern values there for sure. And I agree with you. The set list was not like, Alpine's had probably the most live tracks out of the big three. It was not, like, oh my gosh, but we got the Fool in the Rain tour debut. Krasno with Lion Our Graves was absolutely unreal, I thought. And then Dreaming Tree was obviously a highlight. Some people love that song. Some people don't, care for it. The other cool thing that I loved is somebody who went to Deer Creek and then Alpine. I forget the individual's name who had the butterfly wings, but he made the comment at Deer Creek, and then he finally came through with it on night 2 at Alpine, and then she came down to the pit with her wings and everything. It was super cool.
I have a video of the basically when he's done at the encore. I was in the pit literally next to her. I'm gonna have to share a picture after this. But slow-mo, the video, he points at her and says, "There's my butterfly." And then jumps. It was awesome.
It was
so cool.
Now, the only thing I'll say is he said he was going to play a song for her because I saw her at Deer Creek. I saw her at Alpine. And I actually love the ocean and the butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought he was going to play the actual, which I've gotten a partial and a full of. I thought he was going to play Butterfly.
I thought so too.
And he did not play it. I was like, so listen, it was a great weekend, but I was like, that's a little bit of a happy. He said he's gonna play a song for her. She's a butterfly. She's not in the ocean.
Yeah.
So you gotta. So I thought it was. I just joke about. Listen, it was a great weekend, but I was like, wait, I want butterfly. We don't want no ocean in the butterfly. so yeah, I just any final thoughts? So you guys make these trips. Listen, inflation was crazy. Some of you guys have children. I don't have children. And this felt like I was paying for daycare. Like I said, I was in Chicago. Gas is like 7-Eleven at 7-Eleven. And I was in Indianapolis. And listen, I had a wonderful time. But it was so expensive. It was so taxing. A lot of anxiety with flights. And but I think it was worth it. So as you guys look back, what are some final thoughts on your trips? We'll start with Steven.
Ooh. Especially since we added that night to a Camden, that made 4 weekends in a row for us. But I think it just goes back to all the venues are unique in their own way. And I think what I love the most is while I wanted some songs played here or there, whatever, when you combine Deer Creek, Alpine, and SPAC together, and you combine all the music we got and the songs we got, it was actually absolutely incredible. So I think it's one of those things. There's a lot of people who don't make the flight to Deer Creek or Alpine who are just, I'm only going to SPAC, or I'm going to Northeast venues, or I'm going to Florida. Yes, Trish, I'm talking about you. You gotta, if Alpine comes back and it's not played next year, more than likely it will be 4th of July weekend in 2024. And if you haven't been to Alpine, I'll just say this, whether you're a SPAC is your favorite place, or Gorge or Deer Creek or wherever, that could be one of the last times they're at Alpine. You just never know. I mean, you just don't know what's going to happen with the venue itself and or the band itself. I mean, we're not getting any younger. They're not getting any younger, but I love the life that Buddy's brought to the band because of that. So I think ultimately my thing is you just, if you can go make the trip. The Midwest venues rank up there with SPAC in those Northeast venues all the time. And I just wouldn't miss it. The Midwest hospitality is amazing.
Absolutely. And I will say this, it's easy if you've been to SPAC already and you know the stress, if you guys get shut out of the pavilion next year, right? Let's say you apply, I know all the upstate New Yorkers, this is the biggest thing every year. I live here. I'm 20 minutes from the venue. I'm 10 people can drive 5 minutes down the road. They're at the venue. I understand your pain, right? It's harder to get tickets to your home venue. But if you get shut out of SPAC, at least go to Deer Creek. Don't go to Northern Island, but go to Deer Creek next year.
Please do not support Northerly Island.
Yes. So or go to Summerfest if they because what they'll do is because of regional restrictions, when they don't do Alpine, they will do Northerly and Summerfest. But just make a trip, and yes, SPAC has its special charm, but there were things that I got at Alpine and Deer Creek that weren't played. There was no Stone at SPAC this year, right? There was no Raven at SPAC. There was no number 40. These are staples for that venue. But if you go out to what was
We
it?
got big. We
Camden.
got big at Deer
Yep.
Creek and Alpine, and then night 2 at Alpine, they sound checked pig again. So
Gotcha.
that was
Yeah,
great.
and like Raven was played in Camden. Fool to Think was in Camden. What You Are debuted in Guilford. So for all the upstate New Yorkers and people who love SPAC, maybe Connecticut, New Jersey, if you get shut out of SPAC, just try to take that money and make a trek down to Deer Creek or to Alpine every other year, or if it comes back, I hope it does. And then, or try to go to Guilford. Like, actually, don't go to Guilford. That's a secret. No one needs to know about. We don't talk about Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno or Guilford anyway. But let's go to Stephanie Boyd. Any final thoughts about this awesome journey you had, being somebody who initially had difficulties getting people to go, and now you found your way?
Now that I have found my people and I have found the inside scoop of what venues to go to, it's like an addiction. It's like now I got to find what's the next venue that I need to go to, and I'm asking people like, so where do I need to go to next year? Where do I need to go to the next year? This is my year, my big year of seeing all these new venues, and now I can't stop. It's like I want to see them all. So if you've never been to a venue outside of your own venue, go to the venues they say. Because I kept hearing, go to SPAC, go to Alpine, go to SPAC, go to Alpine, go to MSG, go to Gorge. So I'm like checking these off my list. Okay, take the word. Buy the.
And I'll just piggyback on that and say, don't knock a venue until you go.
Exactly.
Steven knows the Alpine. Listen, I love the Alpine. I love you guys in the Alpine group. But there were some people, and listen, Steven was there, right? So his opinion, listen, I respected it because he was there. But you had a lot of Alpine and a lot of SPAC people. This show can't be as good. But don't knock it until you go. Even yesterday, there were people knocking SPAC, and they're like, oh, I don't see how there could be good seats in the pavilion. I'm like, bruh, it's like most of the seats in the pavilion are closer, than a lot of seats at the back. The last seat at SPAC is still in the middle of a pavilion. So I just say, and I made this mistake too. I was like, well, Deer Creek has great sets, but what else does it have? And I went, and I get it. I always revealed Alpine. I knew Alpine was great, but Deer Creek really, I got it when I got there. So that's what I'll say is just try to not knock stuff. Just as I said with the people, right? We heard people, our Midwestern folks and our Stephanie from Tennessee, they talked about how great SPAC was with people.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked about how great the people were in what is considered flyover country in Alpine. So I just wanted to point that out, that you really should go. Don't knock it until you go. Now, if you go and they close with Shake Me both nights, then okay, SPAC sucks. All right. If you go to SPAC and then they have Shake Me back-to-back night, then fine, I'll give you that. So, and let's go to Two Step 41. Any final thoughts, any things, takeaways from this awesome trip you made? 24 hours of driving in
I will say,
weekend.
like too much into Halloween, like the fake out. I was like, he's not going to end with this. Is he going to end with this? And as most of you people know, Halloween is probably one of my favorite songs. Like, I love Disturbed. I saw them so many times. And so Dave screaming and being that like passionate, when he started playing, I about threw my freaking phone. I lost it. And so honestly, I drive 25 hours just to hear that again. So SPAC was worth every freaking minute.
Agree.
Yeah. So we don't know how much longer they're touring. And I have had this discussion with multiple people now that if you can go, like you guys have said, if you can go to a venue and you can experience the people and you can experience the venue. I mean, he's played shotgun at like these one-off shows that, I mean, I drive probably 50 hours to see.
Hold on, Steph, I have to cut you up. We're not going to talk about shotgun. Okay. I went to Alpine and Deer Creek and SPAC, and I'm in Chicago, living the dream, eating all the Chicago food up, and they open up with shotgun in New Jersey, 2 hours from my house. So I just have to say that we don't talk about Guilford, Bruno, and we don't talk about shotgun. That's the one song I'm mad I didn't. Everything else, listen, whatever. Yeah. All right. They play that. They open That Girl's You with Alpine. It's a smack in the face. I don't care. Listen, I'm having a great time. We don't talk about
I'd
shot.
rather have a That Girl Is You opener than a Shake Me encore closer.
That's a poll. That's a poll. But go ahead. Go ahead, Steph. Any other thought? I just had to tell you, we don't talk about shot. I'm very. That's the one thing where I won't be kind always, no matter. I'm bitter. Go ahead, go ahead.
No, I just, the experiences at each and every venue has been so unique. And like you said, Indiana, kind of in the middle of nowhere, but it's a very special place. And unless you go, and unless you experience the people there, and frankly, the lawn, I'm fine sitting in the lawn at Deer Creek because of so many positives with it. The sound, the people, the energy, just
The room.
yeah, exactly. Go to those big venues, go to those small venues if you can, but we don't know how much longer they're going to be around, and I'm cherishing every freaking show that I can go to.
Very
awesome. And speaking of Disturbed, I don't know if you saw, I saw them at Summerfest, and just the backstory, I played hockey growing up. Every year, a sophomore year of hockey, we listened to the Disturbed's the Sickness.
Yeah.
We listened to that whole album front to back almost before every game. So I will, like, the Summerfest was that bucket list. They come around, but I'm like, I got all these Dave shows, or I have John Mayer, but I was so happy to see them. And they played Voices, which is like the opening track to their first
We're going to
album.
have to talk about this.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that. But I actually did see, when I tell you it is an adjustment going from Deer Creek sound for D&B to a show where you have Chevelle, Lamb of God, and Disturbed. And then you go to Alpine and it's just Dave. And it's like, oh, wow. Like, I went from like Dave to Meadow to Dave. It was one of the coolest things ever. So I'm like, well, Tim really isn't that loud, you know? But I love how this, I will say this. We talk about how we don't like Tim. I love alt metal, new metal, rock, alternative rock. I love that feeling in the sense of when you get it at those type of shows. Disturbed, Chevelle, Breaking Benjamin, all that stuff. Linkin Park was my biggest band until Dave came through. So I love that stuff. I just don't. Tim, we love you.
We do.
They just need to know. It's not even Tim. Tim, it's not you. It's the sound guy.
It's not you.
Or acoustic guitar. I said they should quarantine Tim's flying V guitar, which is Shake Me. He plays Shake Me on it. Quarantine his electric guitars, and then have him only have acoustics, and we'd be everyone would love him. But anyway, that's enough banter for today. Thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Marcus, for having us, man.
Yeah. And you guys are gonna get kicked off for right now, and we're gonna wrap up this show. Take care.
Thank
Love
you.
you guys. Bye.
Yeah.
All right, so that was fun. It was we were supposed to go an hour. It's 90 minutes. And thank you guys who came on. We got to get some of you guys on. I will be having, and again, I will let you know, we'll be having some other discussions between the next couple of weeks, and then also we're supposed to have a fall tour. Okay, we're supposed to have a fall tour, but I will be trying to have some of you guys on for if we have a break between the tours. There's all sorts of rumors. There's rumors of Dave and Tim one-off shows and full band. I don't know how true that is. I've heard, just to give you guys a little bit of what I'm hearing so far. And let's see. I've heard MSG is a lock. All right. MSG is rumored to be a lock. I'm pulling this up now. So this is, let me just pull this up. And shout out to the D&B Almanac. I do want to just say that this information was from the Almanac. Yeah, Chicago. I'm gonna pull these up here. So let me get a ticker here. So these are some rumored fall tour dates. I got to make sure this is right. But this is some breaking, well, not breaking news. If you've gotten, so let's see. I'm not going to give the sources of people because this is not a private thread, but these are sources. I just want to let you know these are all from Ants Marching. But this is what I have so far. Let's see. I'm just trying to get this graphic up here. And this will actually, I hope this is the case. For those who don't know, I'm getting married, and these will not conflict with my wedding. So here is the rumored fall tour dates. November 14th is Chicago. November 16th is Boston. November 17th is Connecticut, Mohegan Sun. And Madison Square Garden is supposed to be, I've heard a couple of different things with Madison Square Garden. Charlottesville is possible. TD Garden is where they would do it in Boston. Obviously, the United Center in Chicago. Buffalo is rumored to be in the fall tour, but I've heard the strongest I've heard is MSG is going to be in there. Let me see what people were saying. Oh, MSG is going to be, I think, the 18th and the weekend of the 18th to the 20th, possibly. And again, this is all again, I don't have this is just what we're hearing. Okay, these are rumors, okay? Don't buy a refundable hotel if you're planning to go here. So that's what I'm hearing. We're going to be trying to get I need to talk to one of the people I met at the Almanac, because I do want to get someone on from the DMB Almanac. We've been talking about it, but I do need to touch base with them here. But we'll get some stuff on. Stay tuned. Again, I will try to, if I can get someone on next Tuesday, Instagram and Twitter. Those are going to be your best bets to catch me. Catch all the when I announce, I'll probably put a YouTube video up again to promote the next one. But stay tuned. I will try to do these 8:30 shows. Just so you know, tell your friends if they can't make this live, it's always available on replay. This is always available on replay. And so I'm going to close out the show, but I do want to. So this show is going to be dedicated to my friend's father, who he actually passed away this past week. And this is one of my buddies from high school, and his name was Gary Schultz. Okay, and Mr. Schultz was somebody who literally networked his way into the live music world when all of these bands were coming over from the UK, the Who, the Rolling Stones. He literally just networked with them and became a guitar tech, was always hanging around with them. As of last year, I believe, he was, the Stones literally let him chill backstage. Like him and my friend Dave get to go backstage. But why am I talking about this guy? First of all, this is a friend from late high school that I didn't meet his father until after we graduated. But that poster behind you is the Allman Brothers band show I went to with Dave. And I remember, I believe it was that night, that day. Okay. And he said the most epic thing. I will never forget this. And he passed away. He had a fight with cancer. And I know many of you guys have lost loved ones to cancer. But he said there were two authentically American art forms: the Native American sand art and the blues. And that sticks with me because it was just such an epic, because we were going to the Allman Brothers, right? And they played blues and blues rock and Southern rock. And it was just one of those quotes that I'll never forget, because he was trying to point out the importance of the blues. And back in 2014, I was into Dave Matthews, but from the mid 2000s to to present, the blues is what I first got into. I saw B.B. King, Buddy Guy, and he shared stories. And listen, like I said, he literally knew these guys from the band and was just the most humblest of guys. Um, he loves checking out some of my content too, as far as not here, but on a radio station that my friend Dave runs. I will never forget this as well. If you guys saw, I was on the radio here in Hartford, and I was talking about D&B and some other stuff, and his dad said, "This is your best show." Like when I was, he's like, I love what Marcus brings to the show, and that'll stay forever in my heart. But I say all that to say that um, we're losing so many great people. Bill Russell passed away, but not even just Bill Russell. Like I said, people like my friend, Mr. Schultz, my friend's father, Mr. Gary Schultz. We're losing so many people. And I know many of you guys have lost people in the last couple of years. I mean, it happens every year, but it's just like, I don't know, something since C19 2020, I just feel like there's so many people that we're losing. But this is dedicated to Mr. Gary Schultz, who every time I came over after that to meet up with him, we talk a little music, and he was just such a great guy, to the point where, again, these large bands, the Who, the Stones, a couple of other bands, they literally just befriended him and said, "Hey, anytime you're in town, come backstage." He knew Charlie Watts, who just passed away, and we're gonna actually play my video from New Hampshire, because now he's with his wife. His wife, Dave's mother, also about 10 years ago lost her life to cancer. So he's with his wife. He's with Charlie. He's with some of his other buddies that have passed, and the pain is no more. And it's heartbreaking. I feel for Dave. If you're watching, we love you. Dave is a really good friend. Actually, he's the friend who was at Tennessee with Lane Kiffin. When Lane Kiffin left, he's a very talented guitarist. But this is going to be for Mr. Gary Schultz. Let me pull up the video. And again, I know some of you guys have lost some people. You guys have family members. Listen, when I tell you, I've talked to some of you guys. Some of you guys have lost people close to you. I'm seeing there's people in my community, in my church community, that are going through chemo treatment, right? This world is, the older you get, the more people you find passing away, and it's hard. So I just want to send my love out to everyone, because I know beyond this music, we're humans, and part of being human, there's loss. And let me see if I can find this here. One moment. We're gonna play Satisfaction, because again, he was the band he was the closest with was the Stones. Like I said, literally just last year, he was chilling backstage with them, and he could, he needed to, he wasn't able to walk like he used to be. He was slower, but he enjoyed the heck out of that show. They got a special spot for him to stand in the pit, so he could see his boys, and those are literally his boys. So rest in peace to Mr. Gary Schultz and Dave. Like I said, man, we're here. We're thinking of you. Let me see if I can find that Satisfaction. And this is going to be from the Guilford, New Hampshire show. This was when everyone found out Charlie Watts. I believe he had either passed away that day or the day before. I think it was that day. I know the news broke right before the show, but it's kind of one of those things. He's in the UK, so it's. Let me see. Here we go. So we're gonna play this here, and again, this is for Gary, Mr. Gary Schultz here. Thank you guys for watching. I'll stay tuned. We're going to try to get some more special things here while we're in this break. And again, I cannot say enough. I love all you guys, and I appreciate the support.
I've been playing this